In today's session, we are looking at Microsoft Office Excel, or call it spreadsheet software. Now, when talk about spreadsheet software, our emphasis is looking at software which can be able to process information which involves numbers and which also requires computation. Okay? When you talk about a spreadsheet, ladies and gentlemen, we are looking at a grid of cells in form of rows and columns. We shall start by opening Microsoft Office Excel, which is going to be our area of emphasis. I'm using Office 2019, but any version you have is good enough, and therefore can be able to do whichever we are going to study. So Excel is not Excel doesn't mean spreadsheet software. It's just an example. There are so many packages out there that can be used to manage spreadsheets. For example, if I'm using Excel right now, how about somebody who doesn't have Excel on their computer? What can they do? When you look at the lab at main campus, we have computers that are having dual operating system, dual build system. Meaning we have Windows on one side of the system, and on the other side we have Ubuntu. While we're in Ubuntu, we don't have Microsoft products installed. Instead, we have Open Office packages installed. Okay? For example, if I want to use spreadsheets in Ubuntu and other Linux family products, I will most likely use Open Office Calc. Just like we have Open Office Writer working the same as MS Word. Just like we have Open Office Presentation working the same as PowerPoint. Okay? There are other products as well. If you're on the, for example, right now I'm on the internet, if I don't have Office, MS Office installed, as long as I'm on the internet, you will realize that when I open Google, actually, let me do it very fast, google.com. When you look at this, the home page of Google, on the right-hand side of the screen, we have Google Apps. Okay, here. Just like you can see where my cursor is, we have Google Apps. When you click in Google Apps, among other things, we have Office products. Just like we have Microsoft Office, we have Google Office. Okay, just like we have Open Office as well for Ubuntu and other Linux products. So I have Google Sheets here. So if I don't have Office products, such as Microsoft Office, but I want to use Office software, specifically spreadsheets, just like we have Google Docs for Word and Google Slides for PowerPoint, we have Google Sheets. So Google Sheets does exactly the same as what Microsoft Office Word does. Okay, it does just the same as what Word does. So meaning if I want to open a spreadsheet, I will just ask for a blank by clicking on this plus, start a new spreadsheet. I'll be given a blank spreadsheet file. Okay? So spreadsheets don't mean Excel alone, but there are so many others. Only that Excel is more popular than all other products. So right now I'm in Google Sheets, where you can see we have rows and then columns and so many other features that we are going to see even in Microsoft Office Excel. Going back to Excel, you will see that we have this first screen. By the way, do what I'm doing. Once you get a problem, ask. If you're not on a computer, I told you that always go to the lab, get a working computer. I talked to those people in the lab, they are aware. So we have the recent files that have been opened on the computer. If I opened a file today, I would be able to see today, for example, yesterday, last week, these are for last week. Then those that are older than last week will be able to show as well. Then we can as well open existing workbooks or files on the computer that have not been opened recently as well. If not so, we can work with templates as well. What is a template? It's a pre-designed document or file. So depending on what I'm going to do. So if I don't want to use any of the templates, I want to start something from scratch, I have the option of opening a blank workbook. Okay, so I've clicked on blank workbook. What is the workbook in the first place? At the beginning, I talked about the screen here. I talked about the title bar. The title bar, like I said, it shows you the name of the active file, the name of the file, and the software that is running that file. So in this case, I have book 1. That's a default name that is given if you're using MS Word. Sorry, if you're using MS Excel. So I have book 1 in my title bar. We're going to see all now. A file, if you're using MS Excel again, a file created in a spreadsheet application, just like any other application, not only Excel, by the way, but a file created in a spreadsheet application is called a workbook. Note this. I emphasize, a file created in a spreadsheet application is referred to as a workbook. Hence, Office Excel gives it a default name, book 1. If I create another one, it will be called book 2. Another one again, book 3, until. When I save this workbook with a new name, where you're seeing book 1, that new name will replace book 1. We have seen that. When we look at the ribbon, we have tabs, which we all looked at before, such as the File tab, Home tab, Insert, Page layout, etc. You realize that we have 2 tabs that are unique to Excel, which we didn't see in MS Word, which we didn't see in MS PowerPoint, which we shall not see in other applications. That is formulas and data. These 2 tabs here you're seeing, formulas and then data. So that means that the gist of the matter is on those 2 tabs. So we shall be working with formulas and functions, and then we shall be manipulating our data sets to compute both simple, or call them basic, to complex calculations. Now, why Excel? Why Excel? Or why spreadsheets generally? Spreadsheet applications allow for, first of all, manipulating or computing, or for managing data that is numeric in nature and calls for computing this data, or call it calculating the data. So in simple terms, when you have Excel or any other spreadsheet application, it is itself a calculator. Therefore, you don't need to use a calculator again. Anything you want to compute, Excel can be able to do it, or spreadsheets can be able to do it. Among other things, spreadsheet applications can do what we call data analysis. Okay, we're able to analyze data and present our data, for example, graphically. If you've heard about data analysis software, such as SPSS, such as APInfo, such as Stata, etc., Excel can do many of such tasks. We can present our data graphically in form of charts, in form of different tools. So Excel is so rich, and generally spreadsheets, not only Excel, are so rich when it comes to data management and data processing, which you can't find in word processors, which you can't find in presentation software, and so many other packages. When you are working with spreadsheets, ladies and gentlemen, you will realize that there are some villagers misbehaving. Let me mute them. So you realize that when you're working with spreadsheets, there's what we call automatic update of records, like we are going to see. For example, once you have applied your formulas and functions in the data set, we have what's called dependent variables and independent variables. For example, if you asked your age, if I asked somebody their age, we know that to get age, we shall get somebody's date of birth, current date minus date of birth, meaning age is dependent on those two. So once, for example, the date of birth changes, we expect that the age will change automatically. Once the current, like we were in 2021 last month, if somebody was born, let's say in January 10th, we expect that once we get to 2022, in a new year, the system will automatically update the age of someone. So in other words, Excel simplifies a lot of our work and saves us a lot of trouble and time while working with data. Moving on, we have columns and we have rows. We look at let me zoom in a bit for members to be able to see better. So I guess we're able to see everything very well. We have columns in spreadsheet software. We have columns identified by column letters. For example, A, B, C, D, E, etc. Someone will think that maybe these columns end at Z. The answer is no. They don't end at Z. Then the rows are identified by row numbers. Someone will imagine what is the last row. For the columns, we have over 16,000 columns. Okay? Whereas for the rows, we have over 1 million rows. I think it's 1,048,000. Okay, something. Let me check. Yes, 1,048,576 rows. In each sheet, mark this. In each worksheet in a workbook, we're going to see what a worksheet is. Each worksheet of a workbook, I said a workbook refers to a file created in a spreadsheet application. A spreadsheet is a grid of cells, okay? So a workbook refers to the entire file. Just like look at the book. If you have a book with you, look at that book. The way you see that book, in case you have one. Then within the workbook, we have worksheets. Okay, I'll call them sheets. If I may go back to my worksheet again, I have by default, if you're using 2013 upwards, remember I'm using 2019, which is the latest. If you're using 2013 upwards, it comes with one sheet. Each workbook comes with one sheet, but you can always add more. If you're using 2007, I think even 2010, it has 3. It comes with 3 worksheets, but you can always remove in case you don't want some of them, or you can add. So that way you see that book with sheets inside, that's exactly how spreadsheets are. Okay? So we have, how do we insert new worksheets in the workbook? We have this plus icon after sheet 1 down here. Once you click on the start icon, once you point there, actually before clicking, something is hovering below, new sheet. So meaning once I click there, I'll be able to insert a new worksheet, which is sheet 2 in this case. So we have each worksheet you create, you insert, has 1,048,000 rows. Meaning I can enter records of persons. Over 1 million people can go in one worksheet. If I'm managing, maybe I'm carrying out a census and I'm registering people, over 1 million can go in just this. Meaning, among the benefits of spreadsheets is that they can manage huge chunks of data. They can manage as much data as possible. We can enter text in a spreadsheet. We can enter numbers in a spreadsheet. We can enter formulas in a spreadsheet. We can enter functions in a spreadsheet. We can even enter pictures in a spreadsheet. I hope you have noted that. Now that we have seen how to insert new worksheets, let me insert the third worksheet in my workbook. Then we can as well rename worksheets. How do you rename a worksheet? Remember, I have always said that there are so many ways of killing a rat. For example, we can rename by just double-clicking on the sheet that we want to rename. Once you double-click, type the name that you want to call it. For example, I'm going to call mine. What name should I call it? Let me call it by courses. Since we have BIT and other courses, we have BCS, we have BIS, etc. Alternatively, you can just right-click on the worksheet and select rename. Once you select rename, you're able to type the new name that you want to give to your worksheet. Now that you have seen how to name and do all those other things, we have, I was talking about rows and columns. Columns, we have over 16,000 columns. Let me be specific on the number. Yes, here we are, 16,364 columns in each worksheet. But remember, we can insert as many worksheets as we want. Okay, so you can have just a single file. We can have, or we can process a lot of information, a lot. Now, the question is, when and why do we need more than one worksheet? If we have a single worksheet being able to hold as much information as possible, then why is it important? Why is it relevant to have more than a single worksheet. Among the reasons is that it allows us to filter information very fast. It allows us to organize information. It allows us to sort information. It allows us to identify information easily. And so many other reasons like we are going to see. Okay? Now we are shifting gears. Let's go back to our spreadsheet. Here we are. We look at the spreadsheet again. Let's try to explore, first of all, the environment. When we look at this spreadsheet, we have what we call layouts. The default layout, while working with the spreadsheets, is called normal layout. Okay? Which is what I'm using right now. The other layout is called page layout. You can click on it on your screen and see what will happen. Then we have reading or page break layout or preview, page break preview. To switch between different layouts or different views, you just click on what you want. It is as simple as that. You just click on the view you want to use or the layout you want to use. We have different components of this screen. For example, we have this where my cursor is right now. Once you put your cursor where mine is, its name comes. That area is what's called the name box. What is a name box and what does it do? A name box is the tool in spreadsheets that is used to show the address of the active cell. I said a name box is used to show the address of the active cell. We don't know what a cell is, neither do we know what an active cell is. What is a cell? A cell refers to the intersection of a row and a column. Remember, I said that we have rows and columns. Okay? Where the two meet, meaning each box you are seeing here is a cell. Each box you are seeing is a cell. Okay? What is an active cell? An active cell is the cell where the cursor is positioned, meaning where the cursor is means that whichever I will type, it's where that information will go. It will go to the active cell. So you first select the cell and then type. So once you type, what you type will go to the active cell. Okay? The active cell, once again, is the cell where the cursor is positioned. And it is identified by a dark, thick border around it. You can see that all other cells don't have the border you are seeing on cell D6. Okay, now I said the name box shows the address of the active cell. So you can see, remember each cell has an address. Okay, just like when you buy land, each plot of land in Uganda or even in the world has an address by which it can be located. For example, plot number and block number. Okay? Then you will find, let's look at the addresses. How do you tell the address of a cell? It is identified by both the row and the column. We begin by reading the column letter. For example, right now, this is where my cursor is. It's in column D. Okay, just like you can see. It's in column D. Then it is row number 6. No wonder in my name box it's reading D6. Therefore, we read it as D6. We begin with the column letter followed by the row number. In geography, we had map reading. I think that was senior 2 geography, map reading. Locating the coordinates of objects on the map. My teacher told me you read the northings and the eastings. Where the two meet is the coordinate. Okay? It's the same thing here. The northings are the columns, which are identified by column letters. Then the eastings are the numbers, which are the rows with row numbers. So where they meet. So right now, the address is D6. Once I click here, it's now A2. If I go here, it is H4, etc, etc. Okay? Now, I have a question. What is the address of that cell? I don't know what it is. So the address is I8. Just look at the column letter followed by the row number. Then we have the formula bar. Once you see where my cursor is, actually its name as well come, formula bar. What does it do? It shows the addresses. First of all, no, it doesn't show the address. The formula bar is where we type. For example, if I want to type something here, I can just go to the formula bar and type whichever I want. So whichever I type in the formula bar will go to the active cell. Okay? Whichever you type in the formula bar will go to the active cell. We can use it to enter formulas. We can use it to enter functions. We can use it to enter text. We can use it to enter numbers in the spreadsheet. So by now, we have been able to explore the environment in spreadsheets. So now let's get started. We are going to the first sheet. First of all, let me delete what I've typed here. We're going to the first sheet in cell A1. We're going to type a number. For example, let's type a 9 there and 8 there. Skip one row, do the same thing, 9 and 8 in A3 and B3. Skip one row again, do the same thing. And again, do the same thing in the next A7 and B7. And finally, A9, do the same thing and B9. Before doing what I want us to do, let's look at first things first. We're going to be dealing with formulas and functions while in Excel. What is a formula? When we talk about a formula, it is simply an equation used to carry out a calculation. In simple terms, that's what we can say. Then what about a function? A function is an inbuilt, or call it a preset or a predefined formula. For example, what do I mean? We have sum is a function because it's already inbuilt, it's there. I can just go type, for example, here, I will say sum. Okay? Here it is. So we shall say sum. Maybe I want to add this. Where is the comma? I'm looking for a comma. Okay, I've seen it. I want to sum up this one and this one here. press enter, I'll get the answer. If I want to find out the maximum, okay, we have so many other functions such as sum, average, count, max, minimum, and so many other functions. There are so many, okay, very many functions. Depending on what you want, there are so many mathematical and trigonometrical functions, data and time, financial, statistical functions, lookup functions, database functions, logical functions, etc. So it's up to me to specify engineering functions, any function I want. Those are already there, they are predefined, they're already preset, they're inbuilt functions. Formulas are not inbuilt, it's us who initiate them. We know what a formula is and what a function is. So those are that are inbuilt are called functions. I've given some examples, such as sum, count, max, minimum, maximum, time. For example, if I say today, look at this. Okay, today, and I press enter. The system gives me the current date, just like you can see on the screen. Okay. There are so many formulas, so many. If I want the current time, I can invoke it right away by just using a formula. So meaning if I'm entering, for example, I'm just having students, okay? And I want to capture the date of registration. I don't have to type, I can just use a formula to generate dates for me. So you can see how Excel makes life simple. Now, I want us to add up these two numbers here. For example, I'm going to say 9 plus 8 and press enter. Can you do the same as what I've done? 9 plus 8. We have got, I don't know what people have got, but what you are seeing on the screen is what I've got when I pressed enter. Okay? I will not ask members what they've got, but I want them to use the chart to tell me what they have got, so that I'm able to see who is doing and who is following, who is not following. Then I'm going to use another approach and say equal sign. 9 plus 8. Press enter. I don't know what people have got. I want to see it in the chat. So I have different output for the two cases I've worked out so far. Yes, Asari is so active. I like that. Okay. So I have used two different approaches of different output. Now, what's the difference between the two? Excel is itself a calculator, like I said. Okay? I said you can enter text, numbers, formulas, functions, pictures, etc. Okay? Now, when you enter something, for example, like this, Excel will not think that you want it to compute something for you. It will take it as plain text. If I want Excel to compute, I must enter numbers. It's only numbers that can be computed. If I just enter numbers the way I did it here, it's not enough. Excel thinks that I'm doing my own things, maybe which don't necessitate calculation. So if I want Excel to compute something for me, we have what's called syntax. My math teacher told me so, syntax. They told me that a syntax refers to a set of rules or the procedure that should be followed when you want to do something. That is P3, most likely. So if you want Excel to treat whichever you are typing as either a formula or a function, the syntax is any formula or function must, I repeat, must, in capital letters, bold, okay, must begin with equal sign, okay? That's why you can say that nothing happened here when I pressed enter for the first case, nothing happened. This one here, you can see what I typed, equal sign 9 plus 8. When I pressed enter, and whenever you press enter, you get the result, or call it the output. If you want to go back to the formula, you double click in the cell. Okay, the formula comes back and the answer goes back. The answer goes. Once you press enter once again, the answer comes back and the formula disappears. That is it with Excel and other spreadsheet applications. We have, of course, you can as well, if you want to see the formula, you can as well just click on it like this and then look in the formula bar. Remember I talked about the formula bar. So once you select a cell which is having either a formula or function, the formula you typed goes to the formula bar. We have looked at this. Let's get to C5. In C5, let's say equal sign. We are going to use a cell address. I can either type this cell address here, which is A5, or I can just put my, after typing equal sign, I can just go and click on this cell. Its address will go to the formula that I'm trying to build. So A5 plus B5. Either by typing the B5 directly, or I can just click on B5. Either way. Once I press enter, I'm getting the same answer. Remember, there are many ways of killing a rat. Some people burn the house, others buy them glue or call it a book, others get poison, etc. Now, which one of the two is the best? Which one should we never use in our lives as people who are exposed to computer skills? This one I'm going to discard completely. And also, let's move on first. We can as well say equal sign sum. I think this one we've already used it. Sum, open bracket, or call it open parenthesis. I want whichever is in this column here, which is A7. So I can either type it or click there. A7, comma, B7. Press enter. I have the same answer. Then we have equal sign, sum. Of course, whenever you are using a function, the syntax is simple. Equal sign, function name, open bracket, then put your arguments in the bracket, close the bracket and press enter. Regardless of which function you are using, that is the syntax. Equal sign, function name, open bracket, put your arguments there, close. So I'm going to open my bracket. Then I want to say A9. This time around, let me say full colon. A9 full colon B9. And now we have the same answer. Now the question is, what is the difference between the last two options? When do we use each one of them? Okay. These two options, we use a comma. For example, let's look at this. Equal sign. I want to add this 9 here. Let me first highlight them. Actually, let me put some numbers here. No, we have a 5, we have a 9, we have a 2, we have a 5, we have some numbers here. This is a 1, a 3, a 7, a 6. We have some numbers here. 5, 6, 8, 9. If I want to add these numbers, starting from the first number, which is 5, up to the last number, which is 9 here. Okay. One of the ways to do it is I can just say equal sign, sum, open in bracket. Then I say, this is E7, full colon, H9. So when we're having numbers in the same range, one after the other, you can just use full colon by mentioning the first number and the last number. So it is equal sign, sum, open bracket, the first number in the range and then the last number in the range. They use a full colon. How about a comma? So once I press enter, I've got the sum of all these numbers in the range. How about if I want to add just a few numbers? For example, I want to add this 5. Well, let me highlight it. I want to add the 3. Let me highlight it. I want to add this one here. I need to add this one and this one here. In such a case, you use commas. So in other words, we shall say equal sign, sum, open brackets. That is E7, comma, F8. Oh, I made a mistake somewhere. Oh, I put a question mark instead of a comma. Comma, E7, comma, F8, comma, we have H8, comma, we have E9, comma, and finally G9. So in such a case, I've used the commas because they are in the same range, one after the other. So that's when we use commas. Now, there's something we haven't concluded regarding this 9 and 8 and all these other options given. Here we just said equal sign 9 plus 8. Press enter. What if this person here didn't get 8 or didn't get 9? It's supposed to be a 19 or a 29. They make it a 29 and C. 29, enter. If you are following with me, you'll realize that nothing has happened to the answer. Okay? Whereas, let's get here. Let me make this one 29 as well, just like the other one is. 29, press enter. If you are following with me, you will realize that after typing 29 and pressing enter, the answer, I'll call it the result or the output, has automatically changed. Just like I said at the beginning, automatic update of results. Okay? So, in other words, I desist from using this one here from today onwards. Instead, use cell addresses, but not the contents, not the numbers in the cell. From now onwards, never should you use the numbers. Instead, use the addresses. What does using the address mean? Today, if you are in class, on that chair you are seated, tomorrow morning there will be another class. Someone else will be using that chair. Tomorrow afternoon, the same thing will happen. Maybe there's another class, especially for those that are shared classes, shared units. Okay? So if you just say that I want Sarah, which Sarah are you talking about? For example. So somebody just crammed the name that they think that it is always Sarah who sits here. Okay? So to avoid issues, just use the address of the cell, but not the contents of the, because today you are on that chair, or you are on that bed if you're in that hostel next semester. Someone else will occupy that bed. Then next year, someone else will occupy that bed. So I think we are done with the basics. When adding, we have what we call arithmetic operators and other operators. For example, we have, if I want to add, I will say equal sign 9 plus 8. Press 8, I'll get the answer. If I want to multiply, I'll say equal sign maybe 5 times 8. When multiplying, we don't use, I was in a class yesterday. Not yesterday, but one. Someone was using X instead of star. So while we are multiplying in Excel and all other computer-based programs, we use star. And another word for it in computer language, it's called asterisk. Okay, we call that symbol asterisk. So once I press enter, I have the answer. If I want to multiply, if I want to divide, it's the same thing, equal sign, maybe 9 divided by 7, I'll get the answer. Maybe I want to subtract, I will say, for example, equal sign 80 minus 56. I press and get the answer. Those are the arithmetic operations, and that's how they work. Just like you do the normal mathematics, it's the same thing we do in Excel. So we are done with the basics of what Excel is. What does Excel do? What does Excel do? In Excel, we can, for example, prepare a budget. We can solve anything which involves numbers and which requires computation. We are able to work it out in Excel. Let's try to prepare a payroll, for example. Therefore, let's go to this new worksheet that is empty and work out something small. So what we are going to do, let's assume in column A1, we have name of our employee. We have basic pay, basic salary, we have other allowances such as medical, such as we have accommodation, members, can you please do what I'm doing? We have what else? Transport, which other allowance? We have what else? Maybe risk allowance. We have which other allowance? etc. Then we also have NSSF. We have pay as you earn and the net pay. We want to compute and prepare this payroll. What we are going to do, we shall assume we have employees with their names here. However, we won't waste our time typing the names. We shall assume the names are there. Basic pay, of course, we find that there's a salary structure based on somebody's position and the roles they do. However, for us, in the interest of time, we are going to get these numbers randomly. So we are going to generate random numbers using a certain function which generates random numbers. Therefore, this function is called rand between. Remember, all formulas and functions must begin with equal sign. That's why I started with equal sign. So always don't wait for me to mention it. You should just have it in mind. So I typed rand between. I typed the first two letters. Once you type the first one letter even, the system automatically starts filtering out the best matches. So when you look at my screen, rand between is the third option on the pop-up of the functions we have. Okay, so I'll just go double click on it. Remember also I said when working with functions and formulas, it is simple. With functions, it's equal sign, function name, open brackets, put your arguments inside. So I want random number between which number and which number? I want between maybe 500,000, comma, and 1.2. Between 500,000 and 1.2. So I'll write 1.2 like that. I said equal sign, rand between. You can either type it or after the first two options or the first one option, the pop-up will come and you just double click on the option number 3. But selecting is better because typing you might make a mistake in typing. So I'm going to close the bracket. Remember, we opened the bracket. Therefore, I'll close. By the way, sometimes I may not even close the bracket. The system will automatically close for me since it's a function which is inbuilt. The system knows what to do. Once you open, once you select a function, the system opens the bracket. Then you put what you want, then it will close for you automatically. So I have pressed enter. I have got a random number. After getting that random number, what I'm going to do is simple. I want to have similar numbers like that in all other columns, in all other cells below. Among other tools in Excel or in spreadsheet software, we have what's called the fill handle. The fill handle helps us to copy the contents of the active cell. I have already talked about what the active cell is. So it allows us to copy the contents of the active cell to the adjacent cells, be it a formula, be it a function, be it a number, be it text. Okay? So when you click on this cell where the number is, look at the bottom corner, bottom right corner. Let me zoom in. Let me zoom in further. Okay? You realize that there is a small square box on the right hand bottom corner. If you are looking at the shape of my cursor, look at the shape of my cursor before going there. Look at the shape of my cursor. This is its shape. Once I put my cursor in this fill handle, it changes shape and size to a small plus. I can go to the right if I want. If I want to copy to the right, I can. I can go to the left if I want. I can go to the right, to the top if I want. I can go to the bottom, whichever direction I want. It will copy the contents of that cell to the adjacent cell by dragging. So if so let me drag downward. Since the content is a function, since the content of the cell is a function, it will copy that function to the adjacent cell. So I'm going to drag downwards. You can see. If I drag further, you can see. Okay? So I'm going to drag up to about 100 employees, up to row 100 something, okay? Let me stop at 100 and which number? 112. So I have some numbers to use in what I'm going to do. So now that I'm done, I expect that other members have done it so as well. So my area is still selected. My area is still selected. What I'm going to do, some people will get issues, so I want to fix this issue right away. Since they're random numbers, they will keep changing. But I don't need them to change. Okay? Because whenever I type something, the number, where you are seeing 613880, it will keep changing, giving me a new number. So I want to copy this, Control-C, that entire range of numbers. I just selected the entire range of numbers that I just created. Control-C. I guess members are following. After Control-C, I want this first cell where I type the first number. I'll click there. You can see that their function is that just like you can see in the title, in the formula, but their functions, each one of them is a function. What I have in those cells are functions. So I have copied the entire range. I want to paste, but I don't want to paste the functions. I want to paste the values themselves so that the function disappears. So on my home tab, we have paste, but below paste, there's an arrow. So below paste, I'll click in the arrow. Of course, we have paste as the first option, then paste values, and then other paste options. So meaning there are so many paste options we can do in any Office application. I want to paste only the values without the function coming along. So paste values here, second option. I'm a paste value, we have values. Therefore, I will select the values since I only want the values. I don't want values and what? And number formatting. Neither do I want values and source formatting. I only want values. So something didn't work out well on my side, I think. Let me redo. I made a mistake somewhere. So let me select the entire range up here, copy. Then I move on to this first cell so that all other numbers will also go to the adjacent cells below. So I went to paste in the arrow, paste values, and clicked. Yes, it has worked. So you can see why I talked about numbers, and you can see that initially I had 6 1 something here. It has already changed. So it would confuse some people while we are studying. That's why I chose to make them static, so that they don't change. So my numbers will be there fixed permanently. Now I want us to compute for all other columns. So what we are going to do for all these other columns, let's do as follows. Let's do as follows. We're going to assume that medical, to get medical, we need maybe 26.4% of basic pay. To get accommodation, we need accommodation. We are going to assume that it is how much? Maybe 16% of the same. Then we have transport is maybe 9.6% of basic. Again, what else? We have risk. Let's set it at maybe 36% of the same. Then we have NSSF. Usually they deduct 5% of the salary. So NSSF 5%. 5% of gross. And finally, pay as you earn. Let's fix it at maybe 25% of gross. So we need to compute and prepare our payroll. Okay. Can you, I hope you've captured all this information so that even when I take it off screen, you have it with you. So let's get started. I guess some people are able to compute it right away. So for us to get medical, they are telling us that medical is 26.4% of basic pay. Okay. Those who did mathematics at whichever level you took it, I guess you can do this as well. For example, during those days, someone will say that, for example, 26.6 out of 100 times 856,070. Basic as it is what mathematically someone is required to do to get 26% of this. 26 out of 100 times this, or this one times 26 out of 100. Whichever way you take it, same answer. Same way you take it, same answer. Okay. However, like I said previously, that let's avoid, remember here on this worksheet here, I talked about using the numbers here, 9 plus 8, for example, and then changing the number here, nothing happened. Okay, so this time round, we shall not use the numbers in the cell. When we go back here, we shall say equal sign. We shall not say 800, or we shall not say that 26 out of 100 times 856,070. No. We shall say the address. We shall use the address itself. Therefore, we shall say that B2, by the way, you can just click on the cell without having to type the address using your hands. You can either use your hands to type the address B2, or you can just click on the address. Once you click on the address, the answer will, the cell will go there. So I want B2 times, remember I said we don't use X, we use asterisk or call it star. Okay, so we shall say B2 times, I can say times 26.6 out of 100. I'll get the answer. If I say times 26.6 out of 100, I'll get an answer. Okay. However, how about if we say like this, equal sign B2 times 26.6%. Press enter and we see we have the same answer. Okay, we have the same answer. Therefore, me, I'll go for this one, the last option. So let me first delete both options and do it from here. B2 times 26.6. The moment you put percentage, the system automatically knows what to do. Okay, like that. B2 times 26.6%. Remember, you begin with equal sign. Never forget that. In any formula or function, we must always begin with equal sign. Then we have accommodation is the same thing we're going to do. Same thing. Okay? So by now, I expect that members are able to do everything. Oh, it's 26.4. I've been talking about 0.6. Let me correct it here in mine. So we have the next item is accommodation is 16%. I'll come here, equal sign, basic pay times 16%. I have the answer. Transport is what? Transport is 9.6%. Equal sign B2 times 9.6%. I have the answer. Then we have risk is 36%. B2 times 36%. I have the answer. Okay. Then I can, of course, drag all these ones the way we have been doing. I will first of all select the cells like this and drag downwards using the fill handle. Some people, of course, will have issues dragging. Let me show you something small here. After selecting a cell, for example, maybe C2, where medical is, okay? I can drag, release the cursor, release the mouse, drag again. Some people, of course, are not used to dragging very fast or dragging at once. You can always feel free to release, then you drag again, something like that. Okay? It's not a guarantee that you have. For example, I can just start here again to select again. I don't have to go back up and then drag. I can just choose select just this one and drag like that. I release again. If I want to select maybe this one alone, I can always do it very fast. I can select all at once, the way you saw me doing previously. So don't have issues in dragging. Feel free to do it the way you feel comfortable doing it. So for my case, let me select all at once like this, and then drag up to the end. So as simple as that. Now going on, we have some other columns here. NSSF and the pay as you earn, and then net. Let's create a column called gross. And let's assume that NSSF is, since we don't have gross, let's create a column called gross. And first of all, determine gross. We can always insert rows and columns anywhere we want, at any time we want. So I want to insert a column between F and G. Therefore, I want G to push to the right and create space. So since I want G to extend the other side, I'll go and click on G like this. Okay. I said, since I want G, column G to extend, I'll click on it. I'll point at it and click. Then on my home tab on the ribbon, okay? On my home tab on the ribbon, I have on the extreme right, I have insert. So it's the same approach for inserting columns, inserting rows, inserting cells, depending on what I want to insert, on what I've selected, in other words. So once I click on insert, a new column will come. Now, what was G has become H. I have a new column in the names of G. So let me call it gross. Gross. Now I want to have, gross means everything inclusive. Before deductions, gross means everything before deductions are made. That's what gross means. For example, if you go and buy a box of soap, everything will have gross weight and net weight. Gross weight means even the packaging is included. Nothing has been deducted yet. So let's say equal sign, or we can even, I can say equal sign, of course. Then I say, for example, B2 plus C2 plus D2 plus E2 plus F2. I'll get the answer. I think here we didn't look at that. I forgot. Did we? Let me see. Yes, we did it here using this approach. So that's one approach. But we can also use a function called sum or auto sum. Auto sum is on the home tab on the extreme right hand side of the screen. If I want auto sum, I'll just click on it. If I want another function which is not auto sum, I'll click in the arrow. So for my case, let me just click on it without having clicked in the arrow. This system is intelligent. It will try to detect what it thinks I want to add. If what I have selected after selecting the function called the sum, or whichever other function, if what has been highlighted is not what you want to include in your range, you can always come to the formula and edit it. For example, if I don't want B2, I want it should be maybe D something, D2. I'll go and type the D, whichever D I want, or whichever cell I want. But since it has made a correct selection in line with what I want to consider, let me just press enter. So that's the gross pay for that candidate. Moving on, now we can now get NSSF and pay as you earn, because we are told that NSSF is 5% of gross and per year is 25% of gross. Since we have a gross, let's now get our NSSF. So shall we say equal sign gross OG2 times 5%. Press enter, you'll get the answer. Same thing for pay as you earn, equal sign gross times 25%. Press enter. We have how much taxes will be deducted. Then net. How do you get net? To get net means that we shall first deduct these two, NSF and pay as you earn. Determine how much will this person take home as their take home salary at the end of the day or night. Okay, so in other words, we need to get gross pay minus the sum of these two. Those people who are mathematicians, unlike myself, talked about body mass. Okay, meaning we can create, for example, a layman would say that let me first create another column called the total deductions. Then they add this and this. They add NSSF and then pay as you earn. Then after doing so, they will say that net pay equals gross pay minus total deductions. But for us, we cannot do that. What we are going to do, let's have one column having everything. We have looked at basic computations or calculations. Now, let's look at an advanced approach. So we shall say, of course, equal sign gross pay minus, now these two must be deducted from gross pay. Okay, If you did mathematics, body mass can apply here. The sum of those two, how can we get the sum of those two? Body mass, bracket of, okay, NSSF, which is H2 plus pay as you earn, which is I2. So I'm going to close the bracket. So in other words, they will get gross pay, which is G2, this one here, minus get the NSSF, which is H2, plus pay as you earn. That's the total of those two. It will get the total. Then it will get gross pay minus the total of those two, okay, to get the net pay. So when somebody earns 1.6, they don't take home all that. That's what they will take home, okay? So in other words, once you are told that you are given a job, we are giving you 1 million, ask first, is it gross or net? What is that 1 million? So that you celebrate, knowing what you are celebrating, so that you make an informed decision on whether you should take on the job or not, based on other factors, of course, including transport, feeding, etc. That will come your way. So we are now going to drag these ones downwards to determine how much salaries these individuals are getting. Okay, as simple as that. Now I'm going to ask members to save this work. We have gone too much. I think I'll continue from here next time.